This week's Bible in the News is about Putin's war on the West, Russia's growing threat to Britain and NATO. The April issue of the Bible magazine is now at the printer and highlights the escalating tensions between Russia and the West, and between Britain and the Autocrat Putin in particular. According to a headline in the UK's Sunday Express, Russia on the brink of war threat. Kremlin warns UK is walking a dangerous and insane path. And again in the same paper, World War III, Russian jets' dark missions over Baltic spark fears of covert invasion. The paper went on to say, the alarming news comes off the back of reports Russia has been extending its military reach into northern Europe. An earlier article in the Times newspaper, now reproduced in the Bible magazine, had the headline, Vladimir Putin is preparing for Armageddon. Yet another news headline read, tensions between the UK and Russia are at breaking point. If things were to escalate to war, Vladimir Putin owns a terrifying war chest at his disposal. As tensions have escalated during the past month, Russia has issued warnings to Britain. For example, Maria Zakharova, a Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, said the Prime Minister's plans to sanction Russia, including its decision to expel 23 Russian diplomats from the UK, was extraordinarily dangerous. She warned Moscow was still working on retaliatory measures against Britain for the biggest such expulsion since the Cold War, following the poisoning which left a Mr. Skripal and his daughter critically ill. At a routine briefing, Mrs. Zakharova told reporters she wanted to comment on the statements made by the Prime Minister of Britain in Parliament with completely insane accusations towards the Russian Federation, our entire country and our entire people. She said, in connection with the introduction by Britain of unfriendly steps towards Russia, we plan to introduce reciprocal steps without doubt. They are currently being worked out and will be adopted in the near future. Such warnings to the West by Russia go largely unheeded. This may not be wise because the sure word of prophecy does tell us about the overwhelming power of Russia, the latter-day king of the north, and of his whirlwind invasion when many countries will be overthrown. Daniel chapter 11, verses 40 and 41. Europe's support has been lukewarm. The German foreign minister was less than enthusiastic in his support for Britain in its row with Russia. He said that it was a bilateral issue and that the UK should clarify details of the evidence that Russia had been behind the poisoning attack. Another crack in the European response came from Bulgaria. Said it would not expel Russian diplomats. There are now 9 EU states that will not support Britain. A development has been foretold. The coming together of Europe and Russia was foretold in the Bible and was commented upon by several of those who were able to explain its prophecies to their contemporaries. 150 years ago, one of the most remarkable explanations of the developments was given by John Thomas in his book Elpis Israel, published 1848-1849. In his comment upon the image prophecy of Daniel chapter 2, he noted the fact that this image, representing the empires of men, is to be smitten and broken in pieces together. See verses 35 and verse 45. He wrote, The idea I would like to convey is well expressed by the prophet, saying, "The God of heaven, who revealeth secrets, maketh known to the king what shall be in the latter days." Daniel chapter 2, verse 28. That is, there will be in the latter days a dominion ruling over all the countries mainly comprehended in the limits of the successive empires of Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, and represented by the image as a whole, and which will be broken by a power from heaven which will utterly destroy it and set up an empire which will cover all the territory it possessed. He continued, "Now there has never yet existed a single dominion contemporary with the Toe kingdoms, and of course comprehending them in its jurisdiction, which would claim to be represented by Nebuchadnezzar's image. In order, then, to prepare for the catastrophe, the image, which is now in antagonistic parts, must be confederated. In other words, a dominion must arise before the setting up of the kingdom of God, which shall rule over these territories." In other words, he was saying that Europe must be incorporated into the future image empire. In 1854, the author of Elpis Israel published another work entitled Russia Triumphant and Europe Chained. This was a detailed exposition of Daniel's prophecy. This was followed by many other Christadelphian works, all covering the same ground. For example, in 1885, a Christadelphian newspaper carried the headline, "An Anglo-Russian War Foretold in the Bible, the Coming Battle of Armageddon." So Vladimir Putin's war on the West is no surprise to Christadelphian Bible students who follow the same path trodden by John Thomas well over a century ago. The Bible magazine has published several articles on the topic over the years. For example, Volume 17, Issue Number 1, that was 2003-2004, Russia's Triumph over Europe. And Volume 21, Issue Number 4, in 2008, Russia Triumphant and Europe Chained. Today we see Putin's war on the West taking shape again. We must realize that the prophetic word is sure and certain. There is no change. Russia will build up its image empire as a preliminary to the fulfillment of Ezekiel chapter 38. The April issue of the Bible magazine gives the background to the prophecy and explains where events are heading and how they involve Israel. You can obtain a free copy from subscriptions at biblemagazine.com or by mail. The Bible magazine, P.O. Box 514, Burford, Ontario, N0E1A0, Canada. This has been Paul Billington bringing you this edition of the Bible in the News.